Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Burning Rubber Podcast. I'm Jake Scarborough, joined by my co-host Tim Olson and Fidel Fabian. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Splendid.
Well, we got a lot to talk about after being dead for a bit. First off, you two can kind of talk about the F1 race at Brazil over the weekend. I didn't watch any of it, so what were your guys' thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, it was definitely interesting to see the momentum start to go back to Hamilton. I mean, Verstappen in like the last month and a half has just been dominating, so it was definitely fun to watch.
Yeah, this entire weekend is basically Mercedes domination, looking like the 2020 season all over again. No matter what block or stone, rock, anything you throw at Hamilton, he just got back through the field.
Yeah. I mean, he
Well,
started in 10th. He made up like got up to 7th by the end of lap 1 and he just kept moving. And there is definitely no stopping him. And honestly, as far as the whole Verstappen incident goes, he really didn't show the camera angle of him actually steering, so it's hard to tell if he actually if he actually turned or not, or just purposely screwed Hamilton. But it was Hamilton got the win anyway, so not really that big of a deal that there wasn't a penalty for it.
um, I did see that incident. For me, it's weird seeing this little rivalry occur because this is what the first year since Rosberg won the championship that Hamilton's had, a good fight to the end. So to see, they've had multiple run-ins throughout the season. That's just weird on my end because normally people think of F1 like, oh, it's just Hamilton domination. This year it's been different. And then, both of them getting the fines, Hamilton starting last in the sprint, going to fifth, getting 5 place grid penalty, starting 10th and still winning. That's just insane.
Also, not to mention, every time there's been a sprint race, there's been a run-in between Hamilton and Verstappen in the actual race.
Oh yeah, I forgot
That is
Monza had the
true.
sprint too. So all three of their run-ins have been, yeah. Wow. That is weird. Um I don't know. I have nothing really to input on it. Do you guys have anything else?
I do have one thing, and it is the uh, Max Verstappen fine about him touching Hamilton's rear wing, and the disqualification for Hamilton in qualifying. I feel like the disqualification for Hamilton in qualifying was a bit too harsh because whatever happened to that rear wing for the DRS zone is probably just a minuscule of a difference if he didn't have the issue with the DRS. So I just feel like it should be like at least a small rule change next season for DRS
Well, wasn't
infringements.
the issue with it was like the size was like under or above? No, it was under like the limit or something. I remember it was too short with whatever it was.
I mean, if you're saying that that's kind of a, I don't know, a minor infringement, then you can kind of think back to Hungary when Seb on the cooldown lap just barely missed getting back to the pits because he was out of gas and he just got fully disqualified for the whole race.
Yeah,
So I mean, there is some consistency. It's
yeah.
just weird.
Just like something that can be very minor, they're very strict on. But I feel like that's something where a lot of the fan base being, because let's be real, I think you two can agree with this. A lot of the F1 fan base is against Hamilton or against the FIA in some way. So them penalizing Hamilton and being very strict with that, I think that made a lot of the fan base realize, okay, they're not just, you know, bending over backwards for Hamilton like people try to say they are. Like they made him start last in a sprint. he got a 5-place grid penalty, and he still came out on top this weekend.
Yeah, I see what you're doing there. All there's to say about it is, let's see, 14-point gap, 3 races left. It's definitely going to be fun to watch.
That is true. Fidel, do you have anything else on that?
No, nothing, but I do gotta run a couple of errands, so I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fun. Well, considering you didn't watch Petite Le Mans, I did.
Phoenix review. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll move on to the Phoenix review. Starting with the truck race, I didn't really get to watch it, besides like the last few laps, seeing Ben Rhodes make the move on Zane Smith, which ultimately won him the championship.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's John Hunter who had the problems at the beginning, couldn't quite. He had the pace, probably just didn't get quite back up to the front, and then Matt Crafton was just, honestly, he was consistent enough to make it, but once he got there, he was like 10th to 12th place all day.
Yeah.
And then Zane Smith, I love Zane Smith, but he is honestly lucky to get there too. He did win when it mattered, but it was cool to almost see him win. But I mean, Ben Rhodes was probably the second most deserving driver, if not Todd Gilliland this season. So I'd say it's a relatively deserved championship.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of people kind of trash on it because, oh, he only won the first 2 races of the season type thing. And yeah, Tyler Reddick, didn't he win the first race of the season? Didn't win till Homestead when he won
Yeah,
his
and
first
the thing
Xfinity
is,
title?
between both of those seasons, you can see like in the playoffs, every time you look at the point standings, like in every playoff race, you could see that Rhodes was always he always had a huge gap to the cut line.
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't think there was ever really a moment where he was like right on the cut line at the bad time. He was always having like a healthy gap, and people don't really seem to talk about that.
Yeah. I like mentioning one of the topics that we're supposed to talk about later on. I'll just bring it up now. Like, people are saying, oh, wins are everything. That's why Crafton needs to retire. That's why Sawyer needs to retire. Well, with ThorSport announcing that Ben Rhodes and Crafton are going to be back next year, people, saying Crafton needs to retire because he doesn't get wins. People saying Ben Rhodes didn't deserve the title because, oh, he only got the 2 wins. Those two were so consistent throughout the season. They were near the top of the points. Ben Rhodes leading. Didn't he win the regular season championship? He wins the regular title too. The overall championship. Matt Crafton makes the Final Four with him. It's like, it's one of those things where wins aren't everything. Because these guys are able to still stay up there in the front no matter what.
Yeah, I mean I agree because Ben Rhodes didn't win the. Wait, no, he did. I don't. I tried looking it up. It just said he won the actual championship.
I think
But
it was him. I'm not 100%.
either him or John Hunter. But I feel like I think Rhodes had a better average finish all season.
Yeah.
It's just when John Hunter was winning, he was winning, but when he was bad, he was really bad.
Yeah.
Rhodes, he was consistent, got a couple wins. It's justified that he won the title.
Yeah. There was no middle for JHN, really. It was either, like, the top 2 or, no man's land.
Exactly. And Crafton was he was just consistent come playoff time. He did what he had to do to get into the playoffs. He kept barely scraped in, and then
Yeah. I mean, that's just Crafton. That's all he's proved throughout his career, that consistency is key, and it doesn't matter what system it is. I mean, winning the championship, what was it? Not last year, but that 2019, he won the championship without a win in that season. And it's just like he proved, consistency is still there, and he proved that you don't need to win every race in the season to, win the championship, to let alone make the Final Four type thing. So he kind of exposed the format, but people still are all for it. And then, you have incidents like this in the truck race where, oh, John Hunter Nemechek dominated all season, didn't win the title. It's just like, that's the format we're in. That's the era of NASCAR we're in. That's kind of what we have to work with.
yeah. I mean, consistency can still win championships, and I think people are still having a hard time accepting that.
Yeah. Well, moving forward to the Xfinity championship race. Tough luck for, AJ Allmendinger. He's always been known for his road course abilities. This season, he's kind of shown he's got speed elsewhere, but when it came to Phoenix, he didn't have a good time. It was mostly just the Cindric and Hemrick show that race. You had Gragson kind of putting himself in the picture and then he'd disappear, put himself in the picture, disappear. But that finish though, the Hemrick winning his first career race and the championship all in one corner.
That was good.
Yeah. It's like people are giving him a hard time over it, like, oh, you couldn't race clean for the title. Oh, you didn't win until, it's like this is the final lap of the championship race. The guy in front of you is the race leader and going to be champion if you don't move him out of the way. It's not like he flat out dumped Cindric. He got under him, moved him up the track, and that's all he really did. I mean, that's just hard racing, especially, when you've got a short track as the finale. That's what you should be expecting.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. But one thing I do want to point out, huge respect to Austin Cindric. Lot of class listening to him after the race, during the interview. I'm very happy that obviously it's gutting for him to not win, but I'm very happy he's going to be going up to the Cup. And Penske's still really fucking good in Cup. I feel like he's going to surprise some people next year and do really, really good, because he seems that he's matured a lot since we called him Spindrick.
Yeah. He's kind of, everyone used to call him at the beginning of his career, like, oh, Spindrick, and, oh, he's only there because, he's Tim's son type thing. And it's like, he's kind of he proved the doubters wrong. He won the championship last year. This year, it was him versus Allmendinger for the regular season title. They had that cool Bristol finish. They went into Martinsville. He had the chance to move Gragson out of the way, so Gragson didn't make it into the Final Four, and so he could win Martinsville, and he didn't move him. He raced it clean. He said he's not going to wreck people for the championship, but still, at the end of the day, you go into Phoenix, and the reason you lost the championship is because, someone was put in the same position you were in the week prior, but they took advantage of it and still moved you. And it's like, that's heartbreaking for him, because, you say you're going to race clean for the title. You say you're not going to do that. But realistically, like for someone like Daniel Hemrick, you haven't gotten a career win in the top 3 series yet. You're in position for the championship. You've come second so many times. That was just the perfect moment for him, and he took advantage of the situation. And you can't, downplay that at all.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really much more to add to that. It's just great performance from Hendrick, or not Hendrick, Hemrick, and he was also very consistent. So
Yeah.
2 for 2 consistency can win championships.
And then moving on to Cup, Kyle Larson, probably more than likely to say the fan favorite going into that, just dominated the season. Ended it with the win at Phoenix, getting him his 10th win in the championship. I mean, that showed, you had your 2 consistency champions proving, you don't need a win to win the championship. And you have Kyle Larson that says, well, sometimes you have to, because Truex was right there with him at the end, especially with that late race restart. But for me, I'd say, that was an all-around deserving championship, and you can't say, no one can say that Larson didn't deserve that title in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, gotta agree with that. I mean, I'm a Denny fan, so obviously I was gutted, and I'm one of the only Denny fans that still exists. But I mean, if not Hamlin, definitely Larson, because Larson deserved it.
Yeah.
In 10 wins, he second best average finish, a shit ton of laps led, shit ton of top 5s and top 10s. He was just on a whole other level this season. So everything that he did was rightfully deserved.
I couldn't tell if Fidel came back.
I've been here the whole time.
Okay, that's just creepy. Well, what do you have to say about the cup race, Fabian?
Well, it's more exciting than the 2020 Cup race at Phoenix. I still wish the season finale was still at Homestead. But yeah, Larson showed what needed to be done to win a championship. Dominated the season, got 10 wins of the season. I think that's first time since Johnson did it back in 07, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, they just showed he was the best all season, which all championship seasons should go. Not a dinky playoff system.
Well, I mean, looking at the season as a whole now, you started off this season and staying. NASCAR before the season even started. They were saying this is going to be the best season ever. Lots of doubters, a lot of just all over the place. Fan base didn't know what to think. You start off the season with Michael McDowell winning the Daytona 500. Go to the next week. In just every single week, we almost had it to where we had 16 different winners. You saw Michael McDowell win. You saw William Byron win. You saw A.J. Allmendinger win an exciting Indianapolis road course race. It was honestly, NASCAR lived up to what they were saying before the season started, that it was going to be the best season ever. And honestly, I can agree with that. It was very entertaining. People can sit back and complain that, oh, well, when it came to Cup, Kyle Larson dominated so much that, it was just boring. And it's just like, how can you really argue that? Because even if he was pulling away in races, you still had battles all over the place. This was a way for the Gen 6 car to go out with a bang, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, I
I can agree. The Gen 6 did not have a fun ride since 2013. It went through so many different aero packages. So it had some great seasons, some worse seasons. The best, unironically, the best season was 2014, and then the next season was 2015, which was the worst season for Gen 6. And everything else was just meh.
It's weird because the racing, like 2015, it was hard, didn't really change. I mean, it was still a good season overall. It was just the boys have at it thing kind of went really extreme.
Yeah. I don't know. I really think...
Yeah, there's a silly season. Now that the season's done, I guess we could talk about all the moves that happened and how everyone's gonna fare.
Oh yeah. You know what? We'll talk about, silly season before we get to the IndyCar silly season. If you guys have anything to add on the review for the season, go ahead.
It was great, but very long. It felt like eternity.
True.
Chase Elliott fans are still the stupidest people to watch NASCAR.
Fair point. Well, to start silly season, I guess. I guess we can talk about the Xfinity Series. They announced that Sheldon Creed and Austin Hill will be going to RCR full time in the Xfinity Series, which honestly I was kind of blown away about. I wasn't expecting that, but that is a big thing for that team, because now you've got two of what were like the biggest guys in the Truck Series now on your team. So now you just got to hope that they perform for you in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, it is odd that I did think it was odd that they went with just two brand new guys. You would think that they would go with at least one that has some tenure. I mean, Austin Hill still kind of did, because he was with the Tory and Xfinity for a little bit, and Sheldon Creed got some starts at the end of last season. So I mean, If they could just hit the ground running, they're going to both be championship threats. I'd say.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. I don't have the highest of hopes for both of them. I think it's going to be a very rough start in 2022. I think they can slowly progress and start catching some top 5s and top 10s.
Tim, do you have anything else for that?
I mean, not really. I'm very confident in what they're going to be able to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're definitely. I feel like both of them get a win. I feel like both of them, make the playoffs. Austin Hill, I'm going to say doesn't make the final four, but I definitely think Sheldon Creed would. Because eliminating Cindric from the factor, that makes a huge gap in what's going on in the Xfinity series next season. But you never know. But moving forward from that, really not much Cup news besides them announcing at Front Row Motorsports that they will not be resigning Anthony Alfredo, which, I didn't really know how to feel about that. He's had just a terrible season, whether that could be his fault or just bad equipment or just terrible luck. It wasn't a pretty season for him. To go from a part-time Xfinity driver to full-time Cup like that, it wasn't nice.
You can't help but feel for him, man, because he didn't have any full season in any of the top 3 levels, and then you just get vaulted into a full-time Cup ride in a car that's not great, but I mean it's not terrible. See what Michael McDowell could do, but I feel like he's definitely still a hell of a driver. Just need to give him some equipment and just go to a lower series and see what he can do. I just hope this isn't the end for him.
Fabian.
If Fidel was talking, he would agree with me.
Yeah, I would.
Exactly.
I mean, and he's got the talent. He needs that time to kind of just rise to the ranks. He got thrown all over the place and ended up with a Cup ride faster than he probably expected. He's one of the more likable guys and in the garage and everything, and just to see him put in this situation, it's heartbreaking for him, and it's gonna be weird to see. Okay, well, what does he do now? Because now that surprisingly, this is the fastest silly season we've gone through. I feel like so many rides have been taken already that there's only just a few pockets left for drivers to go in. So hopefully he can find something before next year starts. But with the way silly season's going, he may be back to what he was doing before, and I hate to say that.
Yeah. He's got to hope. And honestly, I feel like a part of the reason he did get in the Cup, like obviously he was good in Xfinity. He wasn't
He wasn't
like
bad.
unbelievable like Ty Gibbs talent, but I mean he was pretty good.
Yeah.
I feel like he mainly got the Cup ride just because he's kind of a marketable guy. Like you have like the whole Alfredo thing going.
Yeah, the fast pasta.
Yeah, fast pasta. And he's just a likable dude, so publicizing him, everyone can see how cool he is. It would probably bring more money to sponsors just seeing his name on it.
Yeah. I do think one thing that hurt him though was the fact, he had his teammate McDowell win the 500. I feel like they put their focus on McDowell all season, knowing that okay, he's going to be in the playoffs. But that's how I truly feel. I feel like the team kind of put their focus into McDowell, not so much in Alfredo. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's kind of how it went, and that's just why his season was just spiraling out of control. But not much you can do.
Yeah, I definitely see your thought process there.
But moving on from that, two more subjects within NASCAR. The whole Brad Keselowski, Roush Fenway Racing move, it sounds like, as far as I'm aware, I could be wrong, sounded like Fenway's dropping out of it, and it's probably just going to be Roush Keselowski Racing or something like that. They're supposed to announce the new name soon. I mean, I still don't know how to feel about it, truthfully. It's going to be interesting to see what he does with Chris Buescher. It's going to be, I don't know how I feel about it. What if they open an Xfinity ride, because Roush closed their Xfinity program a while ago. What if they reopen that with Keselowski there? It's so many questions that need to be answered, but we won't know for a bit.
I personally think that, I mean, you see what Keselowski did with what was it, BKR?
Yeah,
Or was it BKM or whatever it was?
BKR.
Okay, yeah, BKR and trucks for the beginning of the decade. They were killing it. Like, they were right up there with KBM for a very large chunk of when they were running until he eventually shut it down. So, I mean, it's not like they're just getting a random ass driver. They're getting someone who actually has experience running a team.
Yeah.
And running a very competitive one at that. So I feel like, and plus he's coming from Penske, so he'll have all the stuff he knows from them, and I feel like it'll be a very, very good partnership. And I would love to see Roush back contending for wins.
Yeah. Fabian, come on.
I'm thinking.
He would also agree with me.
I would.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Is
I
that all?
agree.
Just yeah.
I agree.
I just want to play the Jeopardy music.
Yeah, exactly.
Just get a sound clip of when he said yeah. Just the Windows Air. Come on, Fabian.
I think Keselowski would be a great co-owner. That's all.
Okay, DiBenedetto.
Round of applause. Yeah, DiBenedetto. He's been a hot topic for so many reasons as of the past 2 weeks. His whole comment on Twitter, then getting a bunch of backlash from fans. He shut down his Twitter account. Then, goes into Phoenix and makes a what can I say? Because I'm not going to say it directly because I don't want to get in trouble for it, but essentially a political statement.
Tweet.
His
LGB
whole
meaning.
Oh yeah, the LGB. But yeah, his little statement and then apologizing for it, but I mean, it wasn't more so to the fans, it was more so for other things. And he's kind of been getting ripped a new one by fans, and I feel like he lost a wave of fans, gained a new wave of fans, lost them, and now he's just losing everyone as it's spiraling out of control. Still doesn't have a ride for next season, and he keeps putting himself in position to win races, stuff happens, and then, he can be consistent. It's all over the place, but realistically, what's going to happen to him next season? I personally think he may go to 38, but I hear people saying, oh, there's a chance he goes to Kaulig, oh, there's a chance he goes to trucks, oh, there's a chance that he's just not in NASCAR next year. I don't know what to think regarding it. I think it's just insane, honestly.
I mean, personally, he should not. I don't think he's that good. I mean, all right, 2020 Matt DiBenedetto, solid driver, got him into the playoffs and almost won a couple races. This year's Matt DiBenedetto, sure, yeah, almost won Dega, but it's Dega.
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything really to. Obviously, I think he deserves to not be with the 21 anymore. I don't think he deserves to be in the 38. Unless they do just decide to go for a driver with experience. But there's also like Ryan Newman, Ryan Preece.
Yeah.
I don't think he should be in colleague. I feel like maybe a truck ride or an Xfinity ride, but just so he can actually win races in high equipment and just kind of prove himself.
Yeah. Like, one thing I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for is, like, this year, until they did the whole crew chief change, he was just doing bad up until that point. They did the crew chief change, he got back on track, but still never really got a glimpse of a win after that. You know, he had a shot at Kansas, had a shot at Michigan, but having a shot and, you know, actually putting yourself in that position or actually getting the win, so many different things. And, you know, teams are going to be looking at, you know, can this guy run my equipment consistently, put it in position where it needs to be? And he was just kind of all over the place this year.
I think Matty D has the Casey Kane effect. Can run really well in low effort equipment, but when put into a somewhat funded ride, he just does not perform. Matty D had a couple of stints with Joe Gibbs in Xfinity, and remember one time at Road America, he was running second on the last lap. He spun out, got stuck in the sand trap, and ended up finishing 18th. I still remember about 5 years ago, Matt DiMandelli finishing sixth in a BKR car. And that was insane. And then a couple years later, in the 95, almost winning Bristol, just coming up just short, losing to Denny Hamlin. I've seen this man's career go from the highest to the lows. It's kind of sad. I think that man could somewhat do something if he has the right equipment and the right people behind him. Is that sometimes his mouth can go to places that most people don't like.
I personally do think his career would be a lot different if Joe Gibbs worked with him more originally when he was on their team, like back in 2008, 2009. You know, but being a prospect, you know, behind Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, stuff like that, it's like, you know, you're not going to make the cut. They were better than him. He didn't make the cut and kind of found himself in no man's land for a bit. Then got that chance with the Levine, then went to Wood Brothers, all that. I do feel like we would be looking at a totally different situation for him if that never happened with JGR a few years ago. But considering that's the situation he got put in, you know, you just gotta learn at some point that you're not gonna get handed these opportunities all the time. And, you know, he got handed a perfectly good opportunity when Paul Menard said, you know, I'm calling it quits after 2 weeks ago. He said, oh, I'm gonna re-sign a contract for next year. Then says, I'm leaving, go get Matt. They get Matt, re-sign him because they wanted Cindric to do another year in Xfinity. And he just couldn't do what they wanted him to do. And now he's probably stuck in, you know, the same situation he was back when he lost his JGR seat. He's in no man's land again. And it, you know, what can he do about it? He's got to figure it out and put himself back in position to get in good equipment again.
Yeah. I mean, enough said about that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he's still liked by fans, so
Yeah.
he deserves it. I don't know if he deserves a cup ride, but he does deserve another chance.
Yeah.
Not like he was taking the equipment and running 30th every week. He was still relatively competitive.
Yeah. Well, moving forward to IndyCar silly season. Sebastian Bourdais not back with AJ Foyt next year. That opened the door for Kyle Kirkwood to get the 14 at AJ Foyt. I think that's an interesting decision to go up from Indy Lights to IndyCar full time, replacing Sebastian Bourdais, you know, a guy that almost put your car in championship position, but then the season went downhill after Texas. I don't know. I know you don't really know much about IndyCar, Tim. Fidel, I don't know if you really paid attention to Kirkwood. If you guys have anything.
I paid attention to him in Indy Lights, but I did hear his name get thrown around a bunch. And I do feel like he's very promising.
He is. I just feel like the situation that he gets the ride over Bourdais is insane. But maybe that's the move maybe that's Bourdais' move he wanted. He didn't want to stick around. Who knows? But I don't really know what to say regarding it. But the next one I do. That being, Takuma Sato not re-signing with Rahal, then Rahal announcing, "Oh, we're gonna have a third seat," thus leaving the door open for Jack Harvey and Christian Lundgaard to take over the 30 and 45 next season. Honestly, I love this move because now you've got Graham and Bobby, father and son. Well, Graham's out there racing and Bobby owning the team. I think it's good for Lundgaard and Harvey to kind of learn from both of them as, Bobby Rahal, huge name within the sport years ago, and then Graham, being a veteran within it. I think that's good for both of them, especially with Lundgaard making his rookie season. We saw what he did at the Indy GP. He was fast. He had a shot at the win. Harvey, he's put himself in position for wins before, just hasn't gotten the win. But I think this is good for the team.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, I think is that everything?
I think so.
It would be. All right. Well, I don't know if Tim's still with us, but I think he just muted himself for that segment. Well, what next week this week we'll come back and turn into football because that's what we got to do during off season.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun.
Woo!
So what? We'll probably have that out Thursday. Yeah, Thursday afternoon before the week starts for the NFL.
Yeah. By the way, it's American football, not all your European bullshit. Full-blooded Americans in here.
Oh man. Well, this is gonna be fun because then we'll have Keenan come back and hopefully him and Stotts will yell at each other again because those were the good times.
Happy to be a part of the crew.
Just you three just yelling at each other in a circle.
Oh hell yeah, dude.
Well,
Can't wait.
that's everything for this week. So, I don't know. Do you guys have anything else to add?
I'm out of words.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on the bell for future uploads.
And buy merch.
Make sure to tune in for when you're going to have a black man, a white man, and a mix between the two of them yell at each other about football.
That's
Yeah.
You won't want to miss it, folks. Trust me.
Yeah.
And
That'll
then you have
probably
me.
that'll probably be when I just sit here in the call, let you guys argue, and just stay silent. Maybe Connor will have something to say.
You'll be the moderator. We're all just going to debate.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say about football because my football opinions are terrible. So.
Oh Lord.
I'm a Chargers fan. What do you expect from me?
I didn't even know those existed.
Just make sure everything's in check.
Shush, you Steelers fan. Well, yeah, you tied with the Lions, so shush.
You loser.
Well, that's all we have for you guys this week. Tune in on Thursday afternoon. We'll have football predictions for the week. I'm Jake Scarborough, joined by my co-hosts Tim Olson, Fidel Fabian. We'll see you next time.
Take it easy, boys.